What's going on YouTube? Sundeep M3 back again with another video. Hope you guys are enjoying the uploads, and as always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share for more videos. As we're approaching the end of the year with 2024 being over and moving on to 2025, I know a lot of you guys are in the M3, M4 market and debating if you should be getting an F80 M3 or a G80 M3. Well, I wanted to share some of my opinions since I had an F80 M3 from about 2016 to 2019, a little over 3 years. It was a non-comp DCT model. So a lot of you guys probably in this market and price range are looking if you should be buying an F80 or a G80. So I kind of wanted to just go over my thoughts and let you know which one would be the better daily driver choice. The first thing that comes down to a daily driver is, are you actually using it every day of the year, whether it's rains, heavy snow, etc., like if you have to go to work or just need to be driving your car at all times. If you are, the F80 unfortunately only comes in rear-wheel drive, while the G80, if you get a 2022 or greater, you can get the xDrive. Myself, I have the rear-wheel drive 21 version, for those of you guys who've been keeping up with the channel, and I haven't had any issues with it. But then again, I have an X4M if I need to drive it in any wintry, snowy conditions, and I do work from home and don't have any job or anything that constrains me from having to drive the car every day. So that's why I went with this version. But definitely one factor is going to be the G80 has the xDrive option while the F80 doesn't. But a way to kind of get around that is you can throw snow tires on the F80 in the winter time and then switch out to summer or all seasons depending on the weather. The second thing when comparing the F80 versus the G80 is the transmission. So I did have the DCT and this one has the ZF8. So both are technically automatic, and I haven't test drove or tried out the manual, but from friends I have heard that they are fun to drive. But going back, since they're both automatic, there is a difference still technically. The DCT on the F80 is a little more raw and kind of clunky. You do technically get faster shifts, but the way the ZF8 has been progressing through the BMW M cars, as well as many other cars use the same transmission, and it's just tuned differently. They are pretty much almost on par. So if you're looking to get one of those versus the other, they pretty much are the same as far as shift times. But the only thing is the DCT being the dual clutch, it is way more clunky, especially when the car isn't warmed up as much. If you're going for a short drive in the winter or colder temps, or even the summer for that matter, you kind of have to let the trans warm up for 5 to 10 minutes just by leaving it in like auto mode and letting it shift slowly. Then once it warms up, then you're able to get the true performance. But for my taste and many others, if you're just doing casual city driving or other things like that, it is really clunky just going through the gears, and it just kind of gives a different driving experience. But on the other hand, it is fun and kind of gives us more of a raw feel compared to the ZF8. But the ZF8 just is a lot more smoother, and for daily driving, you really can't beat it. And I think it's one of the best transmissions that BMW has made. You can also tune the transmission. There is the CS flash like I have, which definitely improves it and makes it feel more DCT-like. And there is also XHP, which I believe has 3 stages of their transmission. I heard the level 3 is just really sharp and kind of gives it that like clunk DCT-like feeling, almost similar to Porsche's PDK. So if you're looking for more of a raw experience and quicker shift times, it can definitely be done by tuning the transmission. The third thing is, when you're looking at a daily driver, you want it to be comfortable. So that leads to the next point of suspension. The F80 had kind of a raw, kind of clunky suspension. I was only lowered on Eibach Euro V1 front springs, so that was pretty moderate drop of 1 inch or so, and then the back was just regular. And I did 15 millimeter spacers, kind of similar to what the G80 has now. So that gave that car kind of a dailyable, functional look, and I really liked it. But just going through potholes and bumps, if you live in a bad city or town for that matter, and just don't have the best roads in your commute, you're definitely going to feel more of the bumps and things on the road. Again, some people might prefer it because it's more raw feeling, but the G80 feels much more premium in terms of the suspension, and it's actually a lot better, smoother drive, depending on what you're doing, if springs, coilovers, even that. But stock for stock, it just rides really smooth, even over bumps. And obviously that's a given because this is a new platform. the whole suspension algorithm and components have all been redesigned and re-engineered. So BMW is always going to improve on those aspects. But just having a better suspension, in my opinion, makes the drive a lot more comfortable, especially on these city roads, like I'm saying. If that's something important to you, definitely go with the G80 over the F80. Next is a pretty basic one, kind of for the winter or summer. Since I parked this car outside, I like having remote start. So the remote start through the BMW app, you can customize the climate temps for whatever you want, and then you can also have the car preconditioned at a certain time. So what that preconditioning does is basically you can heat your steering wheel and heat your seats, but the heated seats only work once you get into the car, I think for safety reasons. But it just warms up the car. I usually do it for about 3-4 minutes, kind of start the car, and by the time I walk over, it's fully warm inside. And then the engine, obviously, you have to start driving it once you get there to actually warm up the temps. Don't really just start it and leave it idling for like 10 minutes or so. It's not required as per the owner's manual and won't actually warm up the oil or trans fluid that much. So you're better off driving it. The remote start feature is only a $300 option if you decide to spec it on your car, or if you didn't have it, you can additionally purchase it through the xDrive or Connected Drive app from BMW. Even though it's cheap, it does make a big difference if you're using this car as a daily driver. You don't really want to go into those winter days with a cold car and just you want it to warm up and just be good. Likewise, in the summer, you want it to be nice and cool. So that just adds a simple factor and makes it more pleasurable for a daily driving experience. Lastly, I'll say the tech from the G80 to the F80 is a big difference. So let's make our way into the interior and I'll kind of break down a few things. So as you guys can see, when you open up the door and kind of hop in, you'll be greeted with this animated motion, and then you have the screen here. So this screen size is pretty similar to what the F80 was. I don't really know what the inches are, but you guys can look up the size difference. It was pretty similar, I would say. This kind of has like a bigger border around the frame. But you do get the digital cluster display right here. So that just allows you to do some programming, and you can put your music, or you can even switch it to M mode if you're looking for a track type of experience. You get this focus. Then you can see all your customized things from basic information like how much gas, time, miles, temperature, and then more complex things like the PSI of the turbo spool, temperatures, foot-pounds of torque, and horsepower. That's what I leave it at. Or you can just keep it on the simple mode and just see the RPMs and speed. Having this much customizability, it really gives the interior feel a nice look, premium quality, everything like that looks great. Even making our way down here, the button layout is pretty simple and seamless right there. Then you do have wireless charging, and also the center screen is touchscreen, so you can just tap around, go home, which the 2018 LCIs had that, and obviously they all had CarPlay too. But just everything from the aesthetic of the steering wheel with the carbon trim, which is like factory if you decide to go with the carbon option. Here you can see the door switches. The newer 2025s are galvanized switches for an extra $100, I believe. So it's kind of like a chrome metal aluminum type of look actually. So it feels more premium. And also the stitching here. But just the basics of sitting inside this interior, using all the tech and things like that, just gives it a really premium feel. And if you end up getting the 2023 Plus with the iDrive 8 or the 2025, which has the iDrive 8.5, you obviously get that full, big kind of curved gaming monitor screen. So that's a complete difference in change from what the F80s had. Overall, I would say the G80 M3 is a lot more refined and has all the latest and greatest that BMW offers. And as cars modernize more, they become more comfortable. And that's something that you really want for a daily driver. The F80 is still an awesome car, and if you guys are curious, I would definitely test drive a G80 and kind of compare the differences. But obviously it's opinionated depending on the driving feel. A lot of people say that the F80 and the E90s, E92s have much more of a raw experience, which is true, and you do lose that with the G80, like the steering feel, the suspension, power delivery. All those type of things are a lot different on this car. But in my opinion, it makes it a great daily driver. And I know a lot of you guys buying these cars are dailying them and putting on miles But then there's some of them that have individual kind of high spec ones that prefer to daily it on certain days or the weekends only, and daily a different car for the weekdays or their work commute. Comment down below and let me know, what do you guys think? Do you actually prefer the F80 over the G80 if you were to daily drive this for a commute? And obviously comes down to your pricing and budget. The F80s are kind of holding value, like the LCIs I think are close to 50,000, but you can pick up cheaper ones with more miles for 40, while these cars are still dropping in value and they're around low 60s for a real drive one, similar to mine, or the xDrive in the mid 70s. As always, stay tuned for more videos. Sandeep M3 out.